welcome to another episode of Braxus Photography Fun. Well, today is an intermediate video. It's in between my usual video postings, of course. And I wanted to first show you my new intro, which I'll be using more in my videos in December. But this video here will show you as a sneak peek as to my new intro. The videos following this one for the next few months will be the intro I've been using for the last 2 years. And basically, once December hits, the new videos will basically be posted with the new intro. Anyway, this video is talking about basically video rendering or video exporting. Now, I use Adobe Premiere Pro, and on occasion when I need it as a backup, I use Premiere Elements. I've been using those programs for quite a few years now, and I become a little bit proficient in it. I don't know the techie stuff about doing graphics and pointing things across the screen and that kind of thing, like as in moving objects across the screen for graphics and that kind of thing. Andy, my friend in Vancouver, he's proficient in that, and maybe one day I'll pick his brain on how to do that. But at this time being, I still do pretty basic video editing. But because all my videos are rendered in 8K, and of course YouTube breaks it up into lower resolutions based from the original file, I wanted to try and figure out, for those that do video exporting on their computer, have you used in some computer setups more than one GPU card? Now, I know some softwares, programs like Topaz Video AI, like the Pro version, I guess you could call it, has the capability of using more than one graphics card. I don't know if using 2 graphics cards will basically speed things up, or if it'll have to select between one of the 2 cards and use that as the rendering device. But anyone who's really proficient in rendering and exporting videos, especially in high res, can you please pipe up here? I need a little bit of feedback in regards to that. What I was thinking of doing was kind of splitting up the best of both worlds by getting 2 GPUs, one a NVIDIA card, like a 5070 or 5080. I'm currently using a 5070 card in my computer now, but I might move up to a 5080, or maybe even by then a 6080 when it comes out. The second card is an AMD card, GPU, that basically like a high-end, sort of like a 9070 XTX or XT, I believe is what it's called. Something along those lines, or whatever they have as a replacement in a year's time. But I've heard of stories where when you split up between AMD and NVIDIA, the 2 sort of complement each other in the sense of one has strengths over the other for certain things. And of course, they sort of work together in that regards to you getting a really quick final output on your computer. Now, as I said, I don't know if the software we use today, like Premiere Pro or even DaVinci Resolve or Final Cut Pro or whatever may be, if they have the capability of using more than one GPU, or using 2 GPUs together to basically export your video. Now, this is where I need some feedback from you guys in regards to that. I seem to remember seeing a video or some information in the past this year in regards to you splitting up between AMD and NVIDIA for the graphics cards in the same computer. And as they were saying, they have strengths when working together, where they complement each other, that kind of thing. Because as I say, AMD is good in one thing and NVIDIA is good in another. and you know, the final output ends up being quite nice. Now, I don't know if there's truth to that or not, or if it's all a bunch of hooey, but I'm kind of curious as to that. Like, maybe I might consider getting a second graphics card for my computer if it's able to use it. I don't want to have to split, or should I say choose between graphics cards when it comes to video exporting. Like, it either has to be the NVIDIA or the AMD card, and not the two together. But computer experts out there, maybe you ought to know on this one. I probably will be keeping my 5070 for the time being until maybe the 5080 Super comes out and you replace it with that. Or maybe I'll wait until the 6080 comes out in a year's time and go with that. But I don't know. One of the main points was that NVIDIA and them stopped using SLI type of dual GPU systems back in 2021. And of course that hasn't really been a thing since then, having two GPUs in one computer case. But I've seen some videos cropping up on YouTube recently in regards to using two GPUs in a computer, and some even using AMD and NVIDIA in the same system. And of course there was talk about freeze-ups, bad frame rates, of course blue screens of death and that kind of thing, and just getting the two GPUs to work together and talk to each other. And of course there was mentioning of how one GPU would be focused on rendering that kind of thing, the other one would be focused on frame rates and etc, etc. So they kind of split the duties up between the two GPUs. I don't know how this would work in a system where it's strictly made for creating content, for exporting videos. I don't know if a two GPU system would even help in that case. What if you went with two NVIDIA GPUs instead of an AMD and a NVIDIA? Would the two NVIDIA GPUs help each other in that case? Yeah, I'm not sure what you guys think. I know Linus Tech Tips, which I believe he's actually local to Canada, BC. At least I'm told. I think he's in Vancouver, I'm not sure. But he did a video where he used an AMD and a NVIDIA GPU in the same system. I'm having trouble trying to find that video, but of course he had some pointing out some things with that video from what I'm told, but you know, it was actually an interesting result. So if you guys have the link to that video, please point it out to me as well. I don't know if this two GPU setup is going to crash the computer and cause basically freeze-ups, hang-ups, breaking up of data, or just basically being a real nightmare to run and operate. Some even saying a two GPU setup might actually be slower than just using one. I don't know. But of course, some of these videos that I've been seeing with two GPU setups recently are more geared towards gaming and not creating content. So there is that. Anyway, has anyone tried this? I'm curious to see what you think. Doing 8K video rendering is time consuming. It uses up a lot of resources in my computer. I had to get one of basically the fastest CPU I could get I'm currently using a Ryzen 9950X, and of course they're saying Intel CPUs are more geared towards professional video editing than AMD is. That's another thing that I'm looking at. There's one video suggesting that stepping down to an Intel 7 series CPU that's got less cores but a higher initial clock speed for the single core would actually speed things up than going with a lower CPU count and having more cores as a result. Like they're saying that the single core performance is a lot better on the 7 series Intel CPUs than the 9 series CPUs. So I don't know, I'm probably thinking I'll upgrade to the Intel CPU again on my next basically upgrade in my computer. And then of course I can work towards basically figure out the graphics card part. But I mean, there's not too much wrong with using my current setup, including the 5070, but I'd like to speed things up a little bit, because sometimes when you do longer videos it does take quite a bit of time. And I mean, I'm not doing this rendering and exporting to make money, but I do my videos for church service as well as my own use for YouTube. And you know, I'm trying to basically get my computer ready for the day when I get a Blackmagic 12K or 17K video camera. You know, something where it's going to need those kind of resources to really pump out the output, because we're talking, if you're working with 17K files in RAW format, it's going to be a heck of a draw on your computer to basically process all that. Like, I played with the 17K files on my computer currently, and it does take a lot to even work with the files. It slows down quite a bit, and even processing the files for rendering and exporting, that takes a lot more computing power than typically even with 8K video. Not really having any issues with 8K at the moment, is working pretty well, but as I said, I'd like to speed things up a little bit and try and cut down on my times for exporting. And doing a little research in regards to multiple GPU systems and computers that are really set up for a lot of data workload and that kind of thing. I've been kind of led for my computer upgrade to basically go to a workstation server type of situation, where I'll be going with a CPU that's obviously higher in cost, and a motherboard that has way more options on it as far as memory and the type of CPUs that are basically meant for high workloads. And of course many PCI slots as well. So I was looking into the Intel Xenon system, where not going AMD as I have been in the last few times in the last few generations, going back to Intel and getting sort of a workstation computer set up. Of course the cost is quite a bit higher to get that kind of system in my computer, but I think it's sort of what is leading me to get as far as working with 17K video files. So Intel in 2026 will be releasing their latest Xenon processors. That's the LGA 9324 socket system, and basically it'll have so many memory slots for DDR5 that I could literally get up to 2 terabytes or even higher probably as far as memory is concerned, instead of just being stuck at 128 or 256 on a regular system. And it has usually about 5 PCI 5.0 slots. I think they were even mentioning with the new LGA 9324 socket that it does, I think it does PCI 6.0. I didn't even realize that was on the market yet, but I guess it's probably going to be announced fairly soon. Nothing supports 6.0 yet, but at least it'll be future compatible for a couple years. Of course, you could upgrade to that point. The PCI lanes that it supports, I think, is up to 96 lanes, so it should support quite a few PCI 5.0 slots at full speed. I'm not sure if it runs at full 16 times speed or not in those lanes, but I'm assuming it does. So of course I think that's gonna be basically the best route for me to go with my computer upgrade for next year and the following years. is to basically go to a workstation type of system. It allows you to use multiple GPUs, and you know, like you could basically put 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 GPUs in there if you wanted. Of course, you'd have to have the power supply to support it. I looked into that, and I believe there is a 2200 watt power supply that you can get, so that'll support at least a couple GPUs, the high-end GPUs. Like, I don't know if I'd want to get like two RTX 5090 GPUs and throw those in the case. That may be an expensive option, considering the 5090s are $4,000 Canadian each here. I don't think I'd go that route. I'd probably go 25080s or maybe something like that. The CPU, it'll be probably on the low end of the scale. The one with the least core count available and the highest millihertz as far as the operating speed of that CPU. I'm told that single CPU performance is basically best for rendering and exporting video, because it's the single core count that really makes the huge difference versus multiple core counts, which don't really affect it so much. I even heard of people saying they've shut most of the cores off on their CPU and run very few cores or even a single core just to get the performance up a little bit. So there's that. But if I want to go multiple GPUs, a workstation is basically the way I'd be heading. So again, I ask you guys, do you see much of a benefit running 2 or more GPUs in your computer system when it comes to creative content, rendering and exporting videos? That is my question that I'll put to you at this point. So, okay, anyway, what do you guys think? I'm still using my computer mainly for personal use. And yeah, but I want it to basically be able to handle those 17K video files come the day when I do get the Blackmagic camera. So, yep. Anyway, let me know what you think. Maybe give me a thumbs up if you think, you know, I'm on the right track with all this. And let me know if your software is able to work with 2 GPUs together in the same rendering, exporting process. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Well, thank you for watching, and aye and goodbye. Eh?